everyone, this is Eileen from Eileen Stuffs, and today we are going to take a hard look at what do I actually need to make a month to pay all of my basic bills. This is really important information because if I know really what the bare bones is that I need for each paycheck, that can kind of help me as I go through this process of debt payoff and trying to build up my sinking funds. If you are new to my channel, welcome, and if you are returning, welcome back. I am a cash budgeter and stuffer here on YouTube. I am working on paying off a huge amount of debt as well as building up an emergency and sinking funds. So that's something that you are interested in. Please consider subscribing below if you haven't already. We are just going to get into the dirt. I'm kind of not wanting to see this. We'll go through the basic amounts. Some of these are fixed, some of these are variable, so I'll reflect that. I'm going to give an estimate of what the due dates are and then what paycheck they have historically been coming out of. So I can end up with a grand total, which will probably end up being a range, and then a total from each paycheck. After we do that, we're going to break down even further to what does that actually mean for how much do I need to make per week just to meet my basic needs. I will zoom in here. I tried to make this bigger and then it messed up the chart really bad. So hopefully if I zoom in, you'll be able to see it okay. First step is to go through the bills. Number one, most important, of course, is rent. I pay $660.20 and the due date is the 1st. So this comes out of my first paycheck. Electricity ranges between 30 and 50 plus, especially coming into the winter now with the heat on, it's going to go up. In the summer, it can be as low as 30. I also pay around the 1st, so I do my first paycheck. Gas is another variable. The lowest it's been since I've lived in this house is 10, and it's went as far as 60. I pay this on the 1st, so this comes out of my first paycheck. Water and sewer also has ranged. The lowest has been around 16 with the highest being about 37. Again, I pay all these bills on the 1st. I think some of these due dates are the 2nd and 3rd, but I just try to do them all at once. My phone can range from 81 to 87. The due date for my phone is actually the 10th, but I used to pay that on the 15th paycheck, but I've now moved it to the 1st paycheck. The internet is sitting at about $29 right now. This one might go down, but I'm just going to keep that for now. And the internet comes out automatically, I believe, on the 24th. So this comes out of my 15th paycheck. My health insurance is $211.05. For now, that might change with the new year. The due date is the 1st. It comes out of my first paycheck. The last basic bill is my car payment. That one is $475, and I take that out of my 15th paycheck because this is due on the 18th. Okay. So now we're moving into the student loans. So I kind of color coded the categories a little. So those were like basic bills, student loans. My Navient credit card is still showing 5061, even though I had put in a income-based payment plan. It didn't go through, and it's my fault that I haven't contacted them, so I've just been paying the 5061 as it is right now. This is due on the 2nd half of the month. I usually pay this one with my 15th paycheck. If it's due around the 20th, I'm gonna say. Nelnet is a curious one. Right now, I have been owing $86.58, but starting on January 1st, once the forbearance for COVID is lifted, it's going to go up to $378.16. This is due on the 1st as well. So that comes out of my first paycheck. All right, that's it for student loans. Now we're moving on to credit cards. And this is the thing that's going to get me because this is going to be like all this income that I'm throwing away each month that is really consumer debt. And so I think seeing this is going to be a bit of a bummer, but also hopefully motivating to kick me in the butt to just get rid of them for good. My furniture card sits at 30. You know, it's getting pretty low. So I might start my snowball again once my $1,000 emergency fund is built. Just go back to hitting this one really hard to get rid of it. This one is due, I think, also around the 10th or the 11th, actually. And so I pay it with my first paycheck. This credit card is the biggest one I have. This one had a lot of my pregnancy stuff on it. It ranges right now from 198 to 200. So the due dates for here, so they vary for these cards, but I've been historically paying my credit cards with my 15th check. Some of them are due like on the 28th and 29th, and then some of them are due on the 3rd and 4th. So the ones that are due on the 3rd and 4th, which include the Capital One cards, they're kind of a month ahead right now. So I'm just going to put the 15th for all of these because that's when I pay them. This credit card has been about $40 a month, due it around the 15th. This one is actually technically due on the 28th. This card has been ranging from $78 to $90. Again, I paid on the 15th, but I believe it's actually due on the 7th. This card goes between $74 and $77. I think this one's around the 4th. But I've just been paying it with my 15 check because these are the two that are a month ahead. This card has been ranging from 73 to 85. I also pay this on the 15th. I believe this is another one that has like a 28th due date. All right, now we're on to hospital bill. I put a 2 there because I only have 2 payments left with my hospital bill. I've paid off my follow-up visit. I'm only down to like $342 with the miscarriage bills and I'm done. So that's awesome. I'm going to count it now though because it's still like going to be a factor for the next 2 months for October and November, but it will be done in November. So that is awesome. It is $186.20. It automatically comes out on the 24th, so I have been paying up with that 15th paycheck. My violin rental is $33. They take it out on the 5th of the month. So I pay that with my first paycheck. The monthly lesson cost is $120 and it's actually split between both paychecks. It's about $60 a pay. I'm about to put this on hold for the holidays because I'm going to lose work. So I will take a pause on this, but it's something I'm just going to factor in for now. It doesn't really have a due date because it's just something I'm doing, but I take about $60 from each paycheck. So I'll account for that in the totals. And then gas I put on here because I felt like for me, it was a necessity. I need to put gas in my car so I can get to work. I'm doing about $75 a month. So again, there's no due date on this. $75 a month has been filling my tank and my tank will pretty much last all month long. There's some exceptions depending on if I'm driving more, but it's been pretty steady that way. So I take that out on the first paycheck. As you see, this doesn't include other things. I'm not even including personal items. I'm not including food. I'm not including any of that because when it comes down to the matter, you have to pay your bills first. If it comes down to paying your rent or paying food, we're going to pay our rent. That was kind of my theory behind this. And even these two technically wouldn't be like necessities. They're kind of extras, but since they're set costs that I have been paying, that's why I included them, these last 3. We're going to start. I'll take the amount from the lower range and then the higher range and get a grand total range of what I am doing. And then I'm really curious to see what does this mean for each paycheck. We are starting with the grand total, which I don't know if I want to know. We have $660.20. Well, I'll start with the low end. 30, 10, 16, 81, 29, 211.05, 475, 50.61, 86.58, 30, 198, 40, 78, 74, 73, 186.20, 33, 120, and 75. So the low end total of what my bare expenses are for the month comes out to $2,336.64. Now let's get the upper range of that and then we can take an average. So again, we have $660.20 plus, so the high end would be 50, 60, 37, 87, 29, 211.05, 475, 50, 61, 86, 58, 30. The high range of this could be 200, 40, 90, 77, 85, 186.20, 33, $120.75. Whoa. The high range comes out to $2,682.64. And I guess that makes sense because if you look at it, this is a $20 difference, a $50 difference, $21 difference, a $2 difference, a $12 difference. So yeah, I guess that they do add up to that much, but it seems like a lot. I'm going to double check these numbers really quick off camera and I will be right back. All right, I am back. So the first thing is I messed this up a little. I must have missed something or hit subtraction. I triple check the numbers and the low end is actually, and again, where's the white out when you need it? But I have $2,556.64. That's almost, near 200 more, so I'm not sure what I did there. The high end, I'm gonna double check that real quick, so give me 1 minute. All right, and the high end was right. It came out again to $2,682.64. Let's take an average for what my average total will be. We have $2,556.64 plus $2,682.64, and that comes out, I'll divide that by 2. The average kind of middle here is about $2,619.64 a month is what I need right now. I'm gonna break that down even more. So we're gonna use, again, we'll use the average of the two since that'll be about the mid-range. $2,619.64. I want to see if I divide that by 4 weeks in a month, that gives me $654.91 that I make each week has to go to basic bills. Now, I'm not going to put my full pay on here because I get a rate of pay and then money comes out of it for my office rent. I'm going to divide this by what my take-home pay is, so to speak. Comes down to as far as hours a week. I'm gonna do that off camera and then I'll give you the total just because I wanna hide my financial information. So that for me equals, I need to run about 10 hours a week of what I do pays this bare minimum. So anything over 10 hours becomes extra, but of course we have estimated taxes that have to be taken out, food, personal, so all those other things. But the bare bones is I have to work at least 10 hours a week is paying my bills. And that's really good to know because sometimes I have weeks where I have a lot of cancellations and I still know that as long as I make 10, I'll still be able to pay my bills for the month as long as I consistently reach that point. And I would even say 15 a week just because of taxes and stuff, but that is just going to get confusing. Out of curiosity, our last step is we're going to see, so how much of this is coming out of the first paycheck and how much of this is coming out of the 15th paycheck. And the big thing is, can I do this without making a mistake? So I'm going to fast forward through this part, but I'll go through the totals and then come right back. Okay, I am back. So I got some rough totals for these two because again, the variable, I did a rough average of the variables. So my total really came out to about $7 off from the actual total, but I think it's just in the, because I'm averaging. But my first paycheck, $1,334.83 around has to come out of my first paycheck. So really, and I look at paying taxes, I really need to make about $1,800 on my first paycheck to be able to take out taxes and meet all my needs. And that, again, this doesn't include food. Since most of the variables are in the first check, I'll add in that 7 actually. That makes sense. So 1,334.83 plus 7. So we really are my first paycheck is $1,341.83. This is how much of my paycheck on the first is going to automatically go to pay my bills. Anything over that, right? So if I look at paying 20% for taxes, I'd be looking at another $300 for taxes. That would be about $1,641.83. And then anything over that becomes extra or goes more towards taxes and we end up with food. But that is the minimum that I need a paycheck my 15th paycheck came out to $1,277.81. Bills are pretty split cost-wise between the two paychecks. My paychecks, the low end for me is like a $1,800 paycheck. A good paycheck for me can be like $2,500, $2,600. And so even when you consider that in taxes, I'm doing okay. But even like with this, if I add another $400 for taxes, that brings me up to like $1,600, which is still around my low end. I don't know how I feel about this. I mean, it's almost $30,000 a year that's just going to pay my basic bills. And then in other ways, I can see that I'm doing okay because these numbers are low enough per paycheck that I usually have several hundred over that a paycheck, even though that varies. For me, having a consistent paycheck around $2,400 helps to pay the bills and then have extra to pay for other needs and pay taxes and even have some left over for stuffing, throwing in sinking funds. I mean, this still isn't ideal. I still have a lot of money going to bills that I would like to pay off. I mean, when I look at just the credit card ones, I mean, we're talking hundreds of dollars that are, I actually am curious. I'm going to do the high end too. So I have 30, 200, 40, 90, 77, 85. Right now I have $522 a month I am paying just in credit card debt. That is insane. Once the student loan starts in January, I look at that and I'm like, man, if I didn't have that credit card debt, I would easily be able to start paying this in January because I would actually end up with some money. That $522 in credit card a month, that is $130.50 a week of my earnings is going to just pay off credit cards. So that is the thing that needs to change. To go back to what I was saying, I feel torn about this. In some ways, I'm like, all right, I know what I'm looking at. I know what my minimum hours a week I have to work. I know what my minimum paychecks need to look like just to pay the bills. And I'm doing okay there, but I could be doing so much better. This total scares me a little. But my biggest fear is that even though the numbers don't look as bad as I thought, there's also the fact that a lot of these credit cards just continue to be the minimum payment, which means I just feel like I'm not getting anywhere with debt payoff. I am gonna keep my plan right now. I abandoned the snowball and I'm focusing on my emergency fund. When I get that 1,000 emergency fund saved in cash, that's going to go sit in my savings account and the snowball will come back in effect. I'm just happy to know that this is really what I need to make a month. All right, you guys, I hope that this was kind of cleared up how much of my income is going to debt. I mean, yeah, I would say that disproportionately most of my income is going to bills. You have money left over each paycheck, and definitely being more disciplined about where my money's going has helped me save money and helped me manage my money better, but I feel like I could be doing a lot better than I'm doing right now. And I talked about in another video, I ended up using this credit card again because of all these extra expenses that came up on top of having to cancel my debit card and then just using my credit card or my business account. I'm a little worried about this, but I'm just going to say, okay, the numbers, we got our bare bones here. We know what we're working with. So every week, as long as I can make this amount, I know I'm going to be okay. I feel like at this point I'm rambling because I'm kind of processing the numbers. But I think my brain is moving really fast and there's not much left to say. This is what I'm looking at every month. And I'm looking forward to getting rid of some of these unnecessary ones to bring this cost down and be able to start looking towards other things I'd like to create for myself in the future, such as not having credit card bills, being able to save more money, and to buy a home would be nice. Just have something that's mine. I hope that this was helpful to give you guys a better idea of what my finances are and what I'm looking at and why budgeting became so important to me, because this is something I'm doing on my own now. I thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this and I will see you in my next video. Bye.